So today on the bench we have this HP, hopefully this will come into focus, 9121 dual 3.5-inch floppy drive. This is from an HP150 computer. My understanding is these were the first 3.5-inch floppy drives ever sold in a personal computer. The HP150 was targeted as a personal computer. There's an issue right now that I don't fully understand, that as you can see, the discs don't actually go in and engage. And mucking around here, I can't get a disc to load in either drive. I've tried both the original HP 3.5-inch floppies and just some scrap floppies here. I've got these old Word floppies that came out of surplus. I've powered up the unit. Doesn't seem to change anything. So I'm guessing there's something kind of mucked up in the mechanism. Well, that one tried to load a little bit and now it's kind of jammed in there. So I just don't know. That is certainly not loaded correctly. There, it just pulled back out. It just ended up in a spot where, so rather than muck anymore with that and try to force it, I'm going to open the unit up and take a peek inside and see if we can tell what's going on. I've taken a brief look through the service manual from the HP Museum. Thank you, HP Museum, for the scanned service manuals. The HP150 that I bought, that this drive came with, has an excellent set of documentation, but of course didn't have service manuals. I have cleaned this drive slightly. Basically some Windex to the outer case. As you can see, the drive itself is in really good condition. The stuff is gorgeous. I don't know that there's a whole lot of hours on this computer. Most of the software has never had the floppies open. There's a label over the, the holder of the floppies that needs to be broken to get into the floppies, and most of those have never been opened. There's almost no dust on this fan. This is a floppy drive from 1983. Probably I'm the first person to ever open the case. There's no dust. This thing is pristine inside looking at it. I mean, there's a little bit of dust on top of the caps here, but not a lot. The fan assembly is interesting. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to do anything here. It's like it's 90% of the way where it needs to be to actually latch. It doesn't quite get over that last few percent. And I don't know if it's just not. See, it's not dropping into where it actually loads the heads. I really think at this point I need to pull one of the drives out and take a look. Yeah, I strongly suspect I'm the first person ever to be in this drive. So there's the drive B. Okay, that's for both drives. Let me remove, there's the long power cable here. Let me see if I can get that cable to come off of drive B without too much. Let's see if we can get this support here out of the way. Make a little bit more room here. Okay, the floppy cable is off. Oop, there's a loose pin on this power connector. So what is potentially a ground there started to pull out. Let me clip that back in. I'd like to get this cable off both drives as possible. I hate pulling these off via the cable. I don't know that I had any choice there. There's the floppy cable. These are keyed. Is this the unit with the fuse still taped to the back if you change the power? Pretty much like it's brand new, honestly. I need to be careful when I'm tipping that over that I don't break that. Let's release one of the drives. Looks like each drive has 3 screws to hold it in. The rubber feet have given up the ghost on this. I can't find my box of rubber feet, so I have ordered some replacements. Okay, so that did release the drive, as expected. So each drive has 3 screws. Holding it in place, well, maybe only 2 on the drive over here. There may be a 3rd screw up underneath this foot here. I don't necessarily see it. We will start with this drive. See if we can figure what's hung up in the mechanism. As I started to say, my understanding is this is the first computer that was sold with 3.5-inch disk drives. This computer was released in '83. Probably a little bit of Loctite or maybe a tiny bit of rust on that screw. Let's get this guy back down flat so he doesn't... we're not going to get him flat. Let's get him out of the way as best we can. And take a look at what we've got here. A little bit of dust inside. Very little. Let's go ahead and look at a floppy again. This could be as simple as just grease that's aged, or honestly a latch that is not releasing. That's pulling that back, but this here really does look to be part of it. There was okay, my memory does serve right. There's a single screw here. I believe a single screw that holds that little cover on. So let's lift it out of there and get a look underneath it. So it is a single-sided drive. We can see that. There is the little felt runner that puts pressure down onto the floppy. That is interesting. That toggles up out of the way like that. Let's try a floppy again. You can definitely see the shutter being pulled open. Everything we care about really is over on this side of the drive over here. It's just not doing the thunk and drop into place. And whatever has it jammed is really tight. So I'm just trying to flex everything a little bit to make sure everything moves. catches releasing. I can feel that the grease and a few things that I think were lubricated is really stiff. Which again, no surprise. I really don't want to start releasing. So this entire carriage is actually moved back. It thinks there's a disc loaded, I think is what's going on. This slide should be all the way forward. At least that's the way it looks to me. It's pushing in. Okay, no, it slid back where it should be. Pushing in pushes that entire slide back into the position it's in, and then it latches, and that is the eject position. Okay, and then sliding the disc in will lift this latch here. It's lifted by this little nylon arm here. The floppy actually is catching here. There's where I kind of jammed it up before in there. You can see the little arm there activating the shutter. Pulling the PC board out is going to show us anything. It's a Sony FC6. It's not a standard 34 pin. It almost looks like a Mac or an Apple connector there, although this drive has got lots of electronics on board. It's got a 6809 processor in the box, which is interesting. So it's an HP drive with a Motorola 68B09 processor, an 8291, which I believe is a 8291, I don't remember, ROM. Oh. Trying to determine what parts actually move here. There's the... I think I am going to need to pull the circuit board out. Flat here that'll a little bit of RF shielding is interesting. There's a bodge resistor there. It's actually wrapped in a little bit of shrink tubing, which is nice. That should release the PCB, and based on what I saw in the service manual, it should essentially be able to fold out somewhat in this direction. I might need to release a couple of cables before then. So this is the stepper motor cable. Let's just go ahead and release the stepper motor. am on an anti-static surface here. Trying to be careful with these. This is the head cable, and I will not be actually pulling on the wires on it. Let's see if I can get it to pry up off there on its own. Or see if I can get a grip onto it. Kind of. Again, because it's that superfine coax, oh wonderful that I do that. So there is the board pulled out. A little flex cable around to the heads with this then soldered to it. But where I was headed here was removing the front bezel. And again, I did look at the manual, and it's these two screws here that release the front bezel. Just like so. Lost one of the little metal, little metal inserts. There's a little metal insert here. Oh, that would be wonderful if I actually lost it. It looks like this over on this side, and that just vanished. There is the okay, it fell down inside. Excellent. I think it goes around the other direction. Huh, it doesn't push in as far. There it dropped in. Okay. And now we protect those so that they don't fall out as I'm manipulating stuff here. So this really didn't help very much. Oh, that slide is so stiff. Yeah, this is a lubrication issue based on what I just felt. This is just old grease. See, it's trying now. Really stiff old lubrication. So there is the floppy loaded all the way. I'm going to have to tear this down and do a lubrication pass on it, but that's fine. You kind of expect this with these old machines, but there is the mechanism essentially working, but very stiff. It is kind of giving up here as I exercise it. But what you can see here is this large silver plate here, or brass cord we're going to call it, is really stiff. And I can push it the rest of the way. And yeah, there was lubrication, I think, at one time between these pieces. I can potentially just release it, clean it on its own. I think it really is the problem. There is, of course, this piece here, which is interesting. I'm looking for where everything rides on everything else to get released down in for other potential lubrication points. But this is enough to know what the issue is, and that's what I was after. I think I started out saying I suspect this is just very old, dead lubricant, and it is. So I'm going to wrap this one up here. We will come back in a future video and take a look at a further teardown here and lubrication. I'm going to go study some teardown pictures of the drive next, just so I can get a feel for how everything here goes together. So I'll see you in the next video.